Hey, what's up you guys? We're back in my kitchen. Before we get this video started, I want you to know it is not sponsored in any way. I purchased this camera out of my own pocket. Also, let's do this real quick. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and now let's get into this. So I've been shooting with the Jollylook for a little while now. A few days. I went through one canister of the instax film so far. That is 10 shots, and I've had successes and failures. Mostly failures, just because it is my belief, using this camera, it is not a toy. It's a lot like that pocket camera from my last video. It's very limited on how you can use it. It takes a lot of knowledge on lighting, and it takes a lot of knowledge on proper exposure. As you can see here, I've got some poorly exposed photos, but I also got a few really good ones. So today we're going to go over how to actually get this started to use and how to use it itself, as well as some of the camera features. So the first step with this camera is on the bottom side there's a little button. You push that button and you pull your piece of ribbon and it opens up where the film goes. Now on the back it does say, before you can use the instax cassette, because it comes in a plastic style cassette, you have to turn it until it locks into place. There's a little piece of metal down here that will actually fall down and lock itself into place. So once you have that locked into place and prepared, you open up your film, which looks like this, a little cassette. Now I remember how this fits because I remember that the yellow tab goes up. So we'll actually, yellow tab goes up, and you don't want to push here or here. It says do not push on the cassette, and you lock it into place. Once it's locked into place, you close it and you turn your magical wheel until it catches the black film cover, like so. Boom! So now you're locked and loaded, and you have your film loaded into your camera. Now before we do any shooting, I do want to show you this. It has been breaking in, and I kind of talked about this in the last video a bit, where it wasn't quite breaking in. It wasn't broken in when it came because it was a little bit stiff. So this still hangs down a little bit after using it 10 times, but it is getting a lot better. As you can see, the crease has started to form, so as you use it, it becomes easier to use. So the next step you want to do is you actually want to set your distance. Now you have infinity, 2.5 meters, which is like 7 feet, almost 6.5 feet, 1 meter, which is like 3 feet and a few inches, and 0.65 feet, which is 2 feet, 1.5 inches. And that is your minimum focus. So you can't get any closer than 2 feet and 1.5 inches in order to get a clearer shot. So what we're going to do, because I'm going to shoot the beautiful snowscape outside, you pull that forward very gently. You want to grab both sides of it when you pull it forward, and then you lock the retainers down into this piece of cardboard. Now again, like I was saying before, it is stiff. It is going to take some wear to get used to it. Some of the corners, I feel like they could eventually start coming apart, but that's nothing I can't fix with gaffer's tape. This is an analog, it's an old school style camera. Again, I don't believe it is a toy with how difficult it is to use, and I'm not saying difficult in a bad way. I mean, it takes a lot of skill in order to use this camera correctly. So you have it set like that, and I usually hold it up. I'll show you how I hold the camera up, that way you guys have an idea on how it works. And then you actually want to choose your f-stop, which is this wheel right here. So because it's kind of bright outside, even though it's snowy and cloudy, we're going to go and reference our shoot card. Now do not throw this little piece of cardboard away, because it gives you instructions on how to shoot in various conditions. I think I'm actually going to cut that out and tape it onto the back of my camera so I have a good reference at all times. So bright sun and glare on water or snow, so it's not completely bright out. That's 64, F64. It's not exactly bright sun either, and that would be F45. And it is sunny with light clouds, or a lot of clouds, but light is good. So sun, light clouds is F32, and a lot of clouds, but light is good is F22. So we're going to try to shoot at F22 first and foremost. So I'm actually going to move this knob to F22, And then I'm gonna remove the weight. I've had better shooting with the weight out than with the weight in. So if you see here, it's automatic and manual. Automatic mode is when you push the shutter, it goes down. Manual mode is when you push the shutter, it goes halfway down, and it's like bulb, so you have to press the shutter button again for it to completely come down, and then that's your shutter right there on this side. So we're actually going to cock the camera, and I put my hand over the lens just because of the way the camera is set up to make sure there's no bad light leaks. And then that comes up, and then your viewfinder comes up. Your viewfinder is this Fresnel lens. Let me see if I can get a cool shot of that. So that's actually your viewfinder. So that's what you're gonna see as you shoot. So now we have the camera set up, it's ready to shoot. I'm going to move the tripod over by the window. I'm gonna step outside, take the shot. We'll do our little windy magic when we get back over here, and then you get an idea of how to kind of use it and kind of get used to it. If the shot comes out bad, we're gonna go to our little card here, and we're gonna reshoot it at a different f-stop. Hey, so we're in my backyard now. The neighbors are sleeping, so I don't wanna wake them up. So I don't wanna be too loud, but here we go. I'm gonna show you how I hold it to shoot it, so that it's straight, just like that. See, it's straight. We're gonna frame up on that beautiful red tree out there. And just like that, it goes down. So now I'm gonna take this back inside, and we're gonna do the magical rolly thing, get the film out, we'll let it develop, we'll go over the film a little bit, and we'll see if we need to take another shot or not. Hey you guys, welcome back inside. I'm gonna take my glasses off so the glare isn't there. So we just took our photo outside with the Jollylook, and now we're going to play with the witchcraft. Now the first photo, boom, there we go. So the film itself does say to shoot between 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius. So that's your proper range of shooting. I think that more applies to developing the film itself, because developing film, you have to do it at certain temperatures, especially with color film. It's very, very picky on the temperature, so we're gonna develop it here inside the house. So I did end up taking 10 shots. So the very first shot we took, white out. F-stop was wrong. So I went and tried it at 64, 32, and 45. 64 of a, f64. We got that image. And then at 32 and 45, they are as well whited out. So like I said, the camera's not difficult to use because it was built improperly. The camera is difficult to use because it is very limited in what it's capable of doing. Now I tried to shoot more photos with it, but I realized that I had put the cartridge in correctly, but I had not seated it in correctly. So we got a bunch of overexposures and underexposed through that whole cartridge. So we got 9 really bad shots. And the last cartridge I did, we got really decent shots. Anything that's overexposed was definitely my fault. Like I shot that directly at the sun. You can see the blue spot, that's the sun. So it wasn't a flaw in the camera, it was actually a flaw with how I loaded this cartridge for these 10 shots. But what I want to show you is when you open up this back case and you got your yellow tab up, you want to make sure that you firmly seat the cartridge, because if you don't firmly seat the cartridge, then you end up with problems like I ran into, where I got a bunch of stuff that was overexposed, I got stuff that turned out completely black, and I'm pretty sure that it was because the cartridge was loaded in incorrectly, because the film wasn't feeding out of it right, and I was having issues with the developing, but we did get one halfway decent shot. I'm gonna buy another cartridge, and I'm gonna load it up, I'm gonna kind of play around with it and make sure that that was the issue. So we're gonna go to the basement. Hey, what's up you guys? We are down in my basement again. I kind of wanted to go over some things. Some of the video didn't work out correctly, so I want to explain how manual mode works on this camera. So with manual mode, I will actually turn it over to pinhole, because that's really the only reason I see the reason to use manual mode. See, pinhole on the f-stop, it says PH. And then you'll cock it, like so. After it's cocked and loaded, you actually move your automatic over to manual, that switch right there. And then we're gonna expose, goes halfway down. In manual mode, it works like bulb, and then you hit the shutter again to release it the rest of the way down, like so. So we'll go ahead and do our witchcraft. That probably isn't going to come out. I just kind of wanted to give you an example on how to use the bulb mode or the manual mode because it didn't work out in the video I took earlier. Now I did make a modification to this camera. We kind of talked about it beforehand. I ended up taping the shoot conditions and diaphragm size, or the f-stop size, onto the back of the camera so it's always with me. I noticed I was forgetting it a lot, and I really want that piece of literature essentially with me at all times because it makes shooting with this camera a lot easier. So back to the last part of the video. We had some issues that we ran into where I didn't have the cassette completely seated. I kind of discussed that in that part of the video, but one thing I did want to show you is I am still getting photographs from the camera. So this is f64 of the backyard. It's pretty underexposed. And then we had our two whiteouts from me not having it set correctly that let light leak in. But I did end up getting another cassette, and I did end up doing some shooting with that. I got a black and white, I got a monochrome film, and I got this one at my work. I'm actually gonna show that right here. That way you guys have a better visual representation, as well as some from inside the shop that are underexposed, and one from outside that was underexposed. Actually, this one that's developing is actually kind of coming out cool, so we'll have to see how that comes out in the end. So that's some of the essentials with starting to shoot with the Jollylook. It's not a very easy camera to use, and again, that's not a complaint on my side. I enjoy the challenge, I enjoy analog cameras. I really love that it's very limited, and it's a lot like this Kodak #1. It's an extremely limited camera, but it creates some beautiful images when you get it figured out and when you're working it correctly. So yeah, owning this camera so far has been a very enjoyable experience. I do recommend getting one. Again, this isn't a sponsored video. The links down there are not affiliated. I just really do recommend this for someone who really wants to push themselves, or someone who wants to learn the basis of photography. Do read the instructions. I didn't go through the instructions because I am a visual learner, a hands-on learner. I have to do it myself in order to learn. The instructions are pretty thorough. They have their own YouTube video on how to use this camera. I have to say this camera is probably one of the most difficult ones I've ever shot with. It has been nothing but fun though, and I absolutely do enjoy it. I do recommend getting one. Another video I want to do on it, I do want to do a review on it. That'll be a whole separate video on its own. To see that one, you guys, please like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you see as soon as that one goes up. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining me.